Have you ever noticed how someone can be gone from your life, but somehow they still feel present? You don't talk anymore, you've unfollowed each other, maybe months have passed, yet there are moments when you feel their energy like a shadow that lingers. A song, a memory, a random thought, and suddenly you're right back in that emotional space you promised yourself you'd left. This is what emotional residue feels like. It's when a person's energy still lives in your system, not because they're special, but because they once held a part of your peace. And now, every time you think of them, they borrow it again. But here's the truth no one really tells you: you can't truly heal if you're still carrying the energy of the person who hurt you. You can move on physically, distract yourself, even start over with someone new. But if his energy is still taking up space in your heart, you're still living in his emotional world. Erasing his energy doesn't mean pretending he never existed. It means reclaiming your power from where you left it. It means realizing that your peace isn't something he gave you. It's something you forgot how to protect when he entered your life. Today isn't about getting over him. It's about getting back to you. It's about releasing the emotional noise that's been living rent-free in your mind so you can hear yourself again. Because once you clear that energy, once you take back what was always yours, you don't just move on, you rise. You don't actually miss him. You miss the version of yourself that felt calm when he was around. You miss the illusion that his presence gave you safety, stability, and warmth. But the truth is that calm wasn't real peace. It was comfort dressed as connection. There's a difference between feeling secure with someone and outsourcing your sense of peace to them. One makes you stronger, the other makes you dependent. And that's what happens when we confuse emotional familiarity with real love. We start to believe that the absence of chaos is peace, even when it's built on shaky ground. When someone comes into our life and makes us feel something we haven't felt in a long time, seen, understood, desired, we unconsciously start tying that feeling to them. Suddenly, their texts are validation, their attention feels like oxygen, and their presence becomes our emotional thermostat. When they're warm, we relax. When they pull away, we freeze. The problem is that rhythm teaches your nervous system to connect peace with another person's mood. And that's where emotional dependence starts, when your sense of calm lives in someone else's hands. But real peace doesn't come from someone else's energy. It comes from the relationship you have with yourself when no one is around. It's the kind of quiet that isn't waiting for a text, the kind of calm that isn't dependent on what someone thinks of you, the kind of safety that lives in your own body, not someone else's arms. When you understand that, you start to take your power back. You stop romanticizing their presence, because you see that what you truly miss isn't them. It's how you felt when you thought you were loved. And that's what makes letting go so confusing. You think you're longing for the person, but what you're actually longing for is a feeling, the peace you thought you had with them. But if it was real peace, it wouldn't vanish when they did. Real peace stays. It doesn't depend on whether someone texts back. It doesn't disappear when someone changes their tone. It's rooted in you, not in what someone gives or takes away. That's why the healing process isn't about deleting memories or pretending he never mattered. It's about separating his energy from your peace. It's about realizing that what you felt when you were with him came from you. You were the one capable of calm, softness, and love. You were the one bringing that energy into the connection. He was just the mirror that reflected it back to you for a while. But when that mirror breaks, the reflection doesn't disappear. It just returns to its source, you. So instead of saying, "I miss him," try saying, "I miss how I felt when I was loved." Then take it one step deeper. How can I give that feeling back to myself? Because the truth is, you don't need someone else to create peace in your life. You only need to stop giving away the parts of yourself that create it. The peace you're chasing isn't out there. It's the part of you that got buried under anxiety, under longing, under the noise of trying to keep someone who wasn't meant to stay. When you stop confusing comfort with connection, you begin to reclaim your calm. You stop chasing people who make you feel temporary peace at the cost of long-term stability. You stop confusing emotional intensity with emotional safety. You start realizing that peace isn't the silence after chaos, it's the presence of self-respect. And when that clicks, you no longer crave what left, because you finally see that the calm you thought he brought was actually your own energy reflected back at you. He didn't give you peace. You were the peace all along. Your peace is sacred, but too often we treat it like something optional, something that can be compromised for connection, attention, or the illusion of love. When someone's energy has lingered too long in your life, it's not just their memory that hurts you, it's the way their presence still occupies your emotional space. Every time you replay a conversation, reread an old message, or wonder what they're doing, you're opening a door for their energy to step back in. And the longer you leave that door open, the harder it becomes to hear yourself think. Protecting your peace isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about understanding that your energy is finite. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Every thought, every emotional replay, every small interaction is a form of energy exchange. If you keep letting his energy take up space in your mind, you are slowly leaking your power without realizing it. That's why after seeing his name pop up, or after scrolling through a memory, you feel emotionally exhausted, not because he did something new, but because you just reopened an old wound. Your peace is your responsibility, not his. It's not about what he does anymore, it's about what you allow. You have to treat your space, emotional, physical, digital, like it's sacred ground. That means unfollowing if you need to. That means deleting the messages that keep pulling you back. That means saying no to just checking in texts that serve no purpose except to reattach your emotions. Protecting your peace doesn't make you cruel. It makes you conscious. It means you finally value yourself enough to stop giving access to someone who no longer deserves it. Boundaries aren't punishments, they're filters. They aren't about shutting people out, but about deciding what energies you let in. The moment you start building those boundaries, you begin to reclaim your strength. You start to realize that peace isn't something you find, it's something you protect. And the more you protect it, the more power you feel returning to you. You stop needing closure because you understand that closure isn't a conversation with him, it's a decision within you. There's a misconception that protecting your space means you're bitter or still hurt, but the truth is, it means you're finally healing. You're finally choosing not to bleed for someone who already walked away. You're choosing not to sacrifice your mental clarity for a person who doesn't even notice the storm they left behind. That's strength, that's growth, that's self-respect disguised as silence. When you begin to see your peace as sacred, you stop chasing people and start choosing yourself. You stop explaining why you pulled away. You stop giving second chances to energies that only drain you. You start realizing that your heart deserves to rest, not constantly recover. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've learned how much it costs to let chaos in. And the most powerful part, once you start living with that kind of discipline, people can feel it. They sense that they can't just walk back into your life and take what they want anymore. You become grounded, centered, emotionally unavailable to drama. Your silence becomes your shield, and your calm becomes your superpower. You no longer feel the urge to explain, to prove, to react. Because when your peace is truly sacred, you don't fight for attention, you filter for alignment. Protecting your energy is the highest form of self-love. It's saying, I matter enough to create a life that feels safe inside my own heart. It's realizing that peace isn't something that someone gives you. It's something you maintain when you stop letting broken energy through the door. And the moment you start treating your peace like it's sacred, the chaos that once consumed you loses all power because it no longer has a place to stay. Every time you think about him, check his social media, or replay what went wrong in your mind, you're keeping an invisible cord alive between you and him. That cord is made of energy, emotional attention, curiosity, hope, even resentment, and it feeds a loop that keeps you tied to his energy. You tell yourself you're just looking, just wondering, but what you're really doing is keeping him emotionally relevant in your world. You're giving a past story new life every time you revisit it. The more you feed that loop, the less energy you have to move forward, because part of you is still living in the emotional space where he existed. This is how we unknowingly keep ourselves stuck. We don't realize that healing doesn't happen through thinking about someone. It happens through creating space where their energy no longer matters. Every action you take that connects back to him, even the smallest ones, keeps you energetically invested. When you reread old texts, you're not just reading words, you're reopening an emotional doorway that leads straight back to the past. When you check what he's posting, you're silently asking, does he still care? That question might not be conscious, but it drains your emotional system because it pulls you out of the present and into uncertainty. You can't reclaim your peace while feeding the very energy that stole it. You can't expect to heal when you're still energetically participating in a story that's ended. The loop is comfortable. It gives you small doses of emotional familiarity. It keeps him emotionally alive in your mind, even if he's long gone. But comfort isn't healing. Comfort keeps you circling the same thoughts, same feelings, same questions that have no new answers. Breaking that loop isn't easy because it means giving up the false sense of connection that comes from checking, wondering, or remembering. But freedom only begins when you stop giving attention to what drains you. Letting go isn't just a choice, it's a practice. It means catching yourself when you start to spiral into thoughts about him and asking, is this helping me heal or keeping me stuck? It means consciously redirecting your focus toward your own life every single time your mind drifts back. Healing isn't about suppressing thoughts. It's about starving them of energy until they lose their pull. When you stop engaging with the old story, you stop fueling it. Eventually, the loop loses momentum because energy only flows where attention goes. Think of it like unplugging a device that's been draining your battery in the background. Once you stop feeding that energy, your system begins to recover. Your thoughts clear, your emotions settle, and your body starts to remember what calm feels like without the constant noise of emotional checking. You begin to experience moments of quiet, the kind of silence that used to scare you but now feels like relief. That's your peace returning. Breaking the loop doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. It means you care more about your own energy than about staying emotionally attached to something that no longer feeds you. It's choosing not to go back to old emotional habits even when the pull feels strong. Every time you resist checking, you're reclaiming a piece of your strength. Every time you redirect your focus, you're teaching your heart that it no longer needs his energy to feel full. Healing is not about forgetting him, it's about no longer letting his presence define your emotional rhythm. It's realizing that peace doesn't need his absence, it needs your discipline. When you stop feeding the loop, you start feeding yourself. You begin to experience what real freedom feels like, not indifference, but neutrality. You no longer react because there's nothing left to react to. His energy fades not because he changed, but because you finally stopped keeping it alive. Your mind is the most powerful magnet you'll ever possess. Every thought you focus on sends out an energetic signal, attracting more of that same emotion into your life. When your thoughts orbit around him, what he's doing, who he's with, whether he misses you, you're unconsciously inviting his energy back into your emotional space. You might think you're just reflecting, but you're actually reinforcing an energetic bond that no longer deserves your attention. The more you dwell on him, the more you feed that invisible connection, and soon your peace begins to depend on what he does instead of what you choose. Most people don't realize how much power they have over what they feel. Thoughts aren't harmless, they are frequencies. Every thought you entertain has a vibration, and emotions are the echo that follows. When you dwell on painful memories, your body relives them. When you replay conversations, your nervous system doesn't know it's over. It reacts like it's still happening. That's why you can feel anxious or drained after thinking about him, even if he's nowhere near you. Your energy follows your focus, but the same law that keeps you stuck can also set you free. When you start shifting your attention toward things that nourish you, your goals, your peace, your growth, your mind begins to attract different emotions. You start building a new emotional reality that has nothing to do with him. The thoughts that used to trigger pain begin to fade because energy can't exist without attention. When you stop feeding the story, it stops existing in your emotional world. This doesn't mean pretending he never mattered or suppressing your feelings. It means becoming intentional about what you choose to think about. Every time your mind drifts back to him, gently redirect it. Replace the thought of what he's doing with a question that serves you. What can I do right now that brings me closer to peace? That's not denial, that's self-leadership. It's teaching your mind that you are in control of your emotional direction. The truth is, your peace doesn't vanish when he leaves. It just gets buried under layers of attention that you keep giving away. When you start reclaiming that focus, something incredible happens. Your body starts to relax. You begin to feel lighter. You start to notice how much of your energy was trapped in the mental loops about him. And as that energy returns to you, it becomes creative power, the fuel that helps you rebuild your life, rediscover your passions, and reconnect with your purpose. The magnet of your mind doesn't care what you focus on, it only amplifies it. That's why you must be deliberate about what you allow to stay. If you keep focusing on loss, you'll attract more feelings of lack. If you keep focusing on your healing, you'll attract peace. Energy is neutral, it just obeys the direction you give it. The more you direct it toward yourself, the stronger your sense of balance becomes. Letting go isn't an act of erasing someone from your memory. It's about rerouting your mental energy to align with who you're becoming instead of who you were with him. Every time you choose your own thoughts, you weaken the emotional hold he has on you. Eventually, you stop wondering about him not because you forced yourself to forget, but because his energy no longer matches where your focus lies. Healing isn't just emotional, it's energetic. When your attention shifts, your emotions follow. When your emotions change, your energy resets. And when your energy resets, peace returns. You stop attracting the echoes of the past and start attracting moments that reflect your new strength. Because in the end, your mind is the compass that points your life toward peace or pain. And the moment you choose to redirect your focus, you stop being a magnet for his energy and start becoming a magnet for your own peace. Healing isn't just about moving on emotionally, it's also about releasing the energy that's still attached to the past. When someone's energy lingers in your life, it doesn't just stay in your mind, it seeps into your space, your habits, even your body. That's why you can tell yourself you're done with him, but still feel heavy when you wake up. His energy still exists in the objects you've kept, the messages you reread, the places you avoid, the playlists that remind you of him. Healing on an energetic level means deliberately cleansing all of that. It's not about revenge or bitterness, It's about reclaiming your power through conscious release. Releasing someone's energy starts with ritual, because ritual turns healing into something physical, something you can touch and see. When you clean your space, you're not just moving objects, you're shifting energy. When you delete old messages or photos, you're telling your subconscious that the story is complete. When you write a letter to him that you never send, you're emptying the emotions that were trapped inside you. And when you burn that letter, you're symbolizing a truth your heart already knows, that holding on doesn't serve you anymore. These small acts don't erase the past, but they free you from its emotional grip. The process of release can feel uncomfortable because for a long time that energy has been familiar. Even if it hurt you, it felt like home. That's why letting go can feel like losing a piece of yourself. But what you're really losing is the emotional weight that's been holding you down. When you release his energy, you're not erasing the memories, you're detaching the pain from them. You're saying, this happened and I learned, but it no longer owns me. That's power. Energy release is also about presence. When you consciously breathe, meditate, or sit in silence, you're creating stillness for your body to reset. You're telling your nervous system that it's safe to let go. Because as long as you keep reliving the moments, your body thinks it's still there, still fighting, still attached. The act of release isn't just mental, it's physical. It's in every deep exhale where you silently say, I release what no longer serves my peace. It's in every quiet moment where you choose not to check your phone, not to respond, not to engage. Those moments seem small, but each one is a thread breaking from the past. Rituals of release also reconnect you with your own energy. Once his presence starts fading, there's space for something else, your peace, your creativity, your joy. You begin to notice that the silence no longer hurts the same way. It starts to feel sacred, calm, and full of potential. The same space that once felt empty becomes the foundation for a new version of you. You start creating new associations, music that belongs to your healing, routines that belong to your growth, mornings that belong to your freedom. Letting go of someone's energy is one of the most profound acts of self-love. It's you choosing yourself not out of anger, but out of peace. It's you deciding that your emotional home will no longer be cluttered by someone who no longer lives there. These acts of release don't happen overnight. They happen moment by moment, as you choose to make peace louder than pain. The truth is, you can't heal what you keep holding onto. You can't make space for peace while you're still emotionally renting your heart to someone who's not coming back. Every act of release is you returning to yourself. Every time you say, I'm done, and mean it, you reclaim a little more power. Healing is not forgetting. It's remembering without being drained. It's feeling the memory without carrying the energy. And when you can finally do that, when you can breathe deeply and feel light again, you'll realize you didn't just lose him. You release the weight that was never yours to carry. Peace isn't something you stumble upon when life gets easier or when the right person finally arrives. Peace is something you build, piece by piece, through every decision that honors your emotional boundaries and self-respect. Too often, we treat peace like a reward, something that comes after the chaos ends, after he apologizes, after the pain fades. But peace isn't a destination you reach one day. It's a practice you choose daily, especially when things still feel messy. It's the moments when you choose not to react, not to check, not to explain. It's when you quietly remind yourself, my energy is too sacred to keep revisiting what broke me. When someone's energy has taken up space in your life, peace becomes a conscious act of rebuilding. You have to decide what gets to stay in your mind, what gets to leave, and what gets rewritten. Peace doesn't happen because the past stops knocking. It happens because you stop answering. You stop seeking closure in people who can't give it. You stop trying to control narratives that are already over. You stop handing your emotional stability to situations that no longer deserve it. That's when peace begins, not when everything is calm, but when you become calm regardless of what's happening around you. Building peace also means accepting that not everything will make sense. Sometimes you won't get the apology you deserve or the explanation you crave, and that's okay. Closure doesn't always come in words. Sometimes it comes in the silence that forces you to create your own meaning. Peace grows when you stop arguing with reality and start accepting it for what it is. That acceptance doesn't mean you're okay with what happened. It means you're done letting it define how you feel today. You can acknowledge the pain and still choose peace. You can remember what happened and still decide it no longer needs to hurt. Creating peace requires self-discipline because your mind will want to wander back. It will try to replay old moments, wonder what could have been, or search for signs that maybe he still cares. But every time you redirect your focus back to yourself, you strengthen the muscle of peace. You're teaching your mind that your emotional safety no longer depends on his actions. You're teaching your heart that calm is something you can generate, not something you have to wait for. Over time, this becomes second nature, not because you forget, but because you outgrow the version of you that needed his energy to feel whole. Peace is built through small, consistent acts of self-respect. It's in the way you speak to yourself when no one's watching. It's in the decisions you make that protect your mental clarity. It's in walking away from conversations that cost your calm. Peace doesn't require grand gestures, it requires alignment. When your actions match your worth, peace naturally follows. The chaos only thrives when your boundaries are inconsistent. When you decide that peace is non-negotiable, everything else starts to fall into place. The beauty of peace is that it becomes your new standard. Once you feel it, you won't tolerate what disturbs it. Once you taste what it's like to wake up without emotional noise, you stop chasing people who thrive on it. You start choosing silence over reaction, healing over proving, presence over drama. Peace becomes the atmosphere you live in, not because life stopped being complicated, but because you stopped letting it control you. And that's the ultimate form of erasing his energy, not forgetting him, not hating him, but living so peacefully that his absence doesn't echo anymore. You become untouchable in the best way, not hard but steady, not guarded but grounded, because the truth is, no one can take your peace once you realize it was never theirs to give. Peace isn't found, it's created, and you are the one building it every day with every quiet, powerful choice to protect what makes you whole. Peace isn't something you find after he's gone. It's something you create when you stop giving him space to live in your mind. Letting go isn't about erasing the memories. It's about reclaiming the energy you lost trying to hold on. When you choose yourself, his energy naturally fades, and what's left isn't emptiness, it's calm, clarity, and strength. Because once you remember your peace, nothing and no one can take it from you again.